Hare Krishna, so I'll see how I go with this little one. She's very attached to me. Usually she's pretty quiet. So, all glories to His Grace Panchajangari Prabhu, very dear disciple of Srila Prabhupada. He and his transcendental twin, Janani Prabhu. So I first met Panchajangari Prabhu about 30 years ago. When I first joined, I heard about his glories, and we all heard about his glories basically since we joined, but it was only after a number of years that I first got to meet him. I'd been to Mayapur, but I never really met him as a young devotee, but then he came to Australia. He was on the Padayatra in 1992, and he stayed quite a while on Padayatra from Brisbane to Sydney, and he was giving wonderful classes and so many wonderful pastimes, and just a very amazing, humble personality. It was just to meet him and see, we all knew that he and his brother were so exalted and so dedicated to the Mayapur project, had been there since the beginning days, and they were so pure, practically the most pure devotees in the movement. And to meet him in person and just see how those characteristics that he had, those characteristics of a pure devotee, it was just so amazing, such a wonderful example. And he was just like a friend of everyone. He was, even though myself and other devotees were very new at that time in the movement, he would just befriend you straight away and give you all the time, like some devotees were saying that, he would give you as much time as you wanted. He was never in a rush, never, giving some reason that he had to go. And we were very fortunate in Sydney Temple. He came a number of times from that point on and spent time with us in Sydney Ashram. And he felt very purified in his association, very humbled. And his qualities, you could really feel that his qualities of purity, humility, and complete satisfaction. You could see in him, just by looking at him, that he was completely satisfied just doing his service to Radha Madhava and preaching Krishna consciousness. And every time I used to come to Mayapur over the years, I could never, like other devotees were saying, I could never tell the two brothers apart. I didn't know that they had different colour watches, but I just heard that they used to swap their watches sometimes to confuse devotees, transcendental pastimes. But the only way I knew who was Panchajangari, because I didn't really get to know Janani at all. I spoke to him a couple of times, but the only way I knew them apart was the Panchajangari, because he knew me from being in Sydney. He used to come up and he'd sort of imitate the Aussie accent. "G'day mate, how's it going?" So nice to see you, Prabhu. Are you well settled in Mayapur, and you've got everything you need, and how's the prasadam, and how's your accommodation? He'd just be asking like so many ways in which to make sure we were happy at Mayapur. And he would just sit with you, give a decent amount of time. And just seeing him, fully engaged in his service in Mayapur was so inspiring. His service to the deities, and just giving his time and his wisdom and knowledge to all devotees was such a wonderful example. And also going on the Parikram, Mayapur Navadvip Parikram, I remember every year, especially at the Jagannath Temple towards the end of the Parikram, both the brothers would come down and they would tell Jagannath, amazing Jagannath pastimes for like hours on end. And the pastimes were just like out of this world, and they never seemed to come to an end of the pastimes. And I'll just finish on the last time I was in Mayapur 3 years ago with Jester, and we had little Krishna Balaram. He was only one year at that point. And so both the brothers, we got the mercy of both the brothers. Janani Vasprabhu, he gave Krishna Balaram a milk sweet and personally fed it to him. And then Panchajangri Prabhu, he did Krishna Balaram's first grain ceremony. And we've got a little video of that. So that was very sweet. And Jester, I'll let Jester, Devi, she can speak a bit more on that last bit of the first grain ceremony. Jai. His Grace Panchajangri Prabhu ki.
About 6 years ago, I had a package to deliver to Northern Srinagar. Many devotees had prayed for my health some years back, and I had this, what's known as jari. It was going to be used in a wedding outfit, but the wedding didn't happen, so I vowed to cut this jari into pieces for deities where devotees had prayed for me. Now, the head of the Minister for Deity Worship really wanted all of this jari, and I said, look, you can have most of it, but I need these 2 pieces to hand deliver to Lord Nishingadev. You can't have them and I'll get you more. He's still waiting for that 6 years later. So I said, how do I get this to Lord Nishingadev? He said, ask for Janani Vasprabhu. So I did, and paid my obeisance, and out came Panchajangri Prabhu. He said, my brother's busy, so I'm here. And at this moment, I told him a very brief overview of where the anklets came from, how they were made, and he didn't look. I was used to very much looking over the shoulder at your feet, but he turned to a 90-degree angle, and I was like, wow, I've heard many stories, and I felt so fortunate to meet him. So he went up himself. At that moment, he put the anklets on. So that was very touching, and then we'd actually booked, Krishna Balaram was 5 months old, we booked the first grain ceremony with Janani Vasprabhu. And at the that's when Krishna Balaram received the milk sweets. Both the brothers were upstairs, we were above the altar. I don't know the temple that well, but we were there, and Janani Vasprabhu gave the milk sweet, and then he was going to turn up for the first grain ceremony, but Janani Vasprabhu said, my brother's busy, I'm here. And at that moment I realised that they weren't just twins, they were like 2 bodies with 1 soul that just could flow into each other's service without even really knowing, giving each other instructions, and they're just dynamic. And Panchajangri Prabhu had sampled Jagannath Mishra's feast to make sure it wasn't too hot before he then gave to Krishna Balaram. So Krishna Balaram had double Mahama, very nice baby. And my heart goes out to Janani Vasprabhu, who's probably feeling like he's lost a limb. So all glories to Panchajangri Prabhu. And yeah, thank you.